Welcome back. You're on the Closing Bell East Africa. Let's talk brands now. And the 2014 Brand Africa 100 rankings for the most admired and most valuable brands in sub-Saharan Africa were released earlier today at the Nairobi Securities Exchange in Kenya. Well, in the overall rankings, Coca-Cola toppled Nokia as the most admired brand in Africa, while MTN moved up a spot in the admiration ranks among Africa. Well, Thebe Ikalafeng is the founder and chair of the Brand Africa. He joins me now to tell us exactly why this listing is important and how the top brands got to that spot. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Let's talk about this brand, because we have a lot of rankings coming out of business every day, rankings for this and that. When you talk about how much a brand is admired or recognized, what is the value first for the people behind the brand?
Well, maybe I should first say that when you look at the African continent in totality, much of the rankings has always been about the aid, which has not done much for the continent, and the corruption, which does not tell a good story about the country,
and
about the continent,
or aid,
one of those.
And all that.
So the difference now with Brand Africa 100 is really that we are looking at those brands which are transforming the continent, those brands which are contributing to the acceleration of development in the continent, and are telling a good story about Africa as being a great place to do business, a great place to invest in, a great place to create new ideas and products.
Let's talk a little bit about MTN, because MTN emerged the top. What are some of the things you're looking at specifically for the #1 slot and just for the top awardees? What are some of the issues you're looking at?
The process to select the top 100, Brand Africa 100 most admired brands and the most valuable brands is a two-step process. What we look at first, we go to the consumers, the African consumers, and we ask them, what are your top 3 most admired brands, and rank them for us. So we go to the source and the owners of the brands, which are the consumers in the continent. And once they've given us that list of the top 100 brands, then we ask the second most important question: what is the value of that brand? And then we apply a financial modeling to be able to understand what is the impact of that brand on the bottom line.
A lot of these brands are not just confined in Africa. They have their mother companies elsewhere. So how do you place the value? Is it in isolation in regards to its operation in Africa, or does it breach, how do you consider that?
What we did in the past, we tried to isolate the African value from the global value. What we've decided to do now this year is to really look at the value of the brand, because irrespective of where you operate, you have a total value. And we wanted to make sure that there's consistency when you compare the value of the brands across the world. And in this instance, if you look at the top 100, 23% of the brands are brands of African origin, brands who are indigenous to this continent, the MTNs of the world, the Safaricom, Taska from here.
How did Safaricom perform, by the way?
Oh, well, Safaricom was...
Because I think it's the most admired in Kenya.
It's the most valuable brand in East Africa. You know, amazing thing about Safaricom is that it is really just operating out of one country, but it punches way beyond its weight, particularly because of the innovation that's come up with the M-Pesa, which is the #1 mobile money transfer solution worldwide. And it's a solution made in Africa. And you look at MTN, which is certainly the most dominant Pan-African brand, perhaps the #1 Pan-African brand bar none. And as you said correctly, they were ranked by consumers in Africa as the most admired brand, African brand, and also the most valuable African brand.
There are a lot of startups and smaller entrepreneurs watching now, and they would want to build this brand. What are some of the things that entrepreneurs or companies or brands always get it wrong whenever they're trying to build a brand?
Well, the first and important thing when you're building your brand is there must be clarity. What is your value proposition? And second, do you have a customer? Do you have a base for that product? Because you cannot just create a product because it appeals to you, because it satisfies you. It has to satisfy a critical number of consumers. But the most important thing that all of us fail when you're starting business and companies, we fail to invest in building the brand. You have to build the brand, because the brand is a value proposition. You have to ensure that constantly that you're ensuring that your brand remains relevant, consistent, coherent, and it delivers on its promise. Because all that a brand is a promise made and a promise delivered.
Does building a strong brand, they always have to have very huge budgets allocated to it?
Oh, not necessarily. If you look globally, for example, brands such as Body Shop, which built the entire brand and value proposition around public relations, which is really non-paid for marketing. You don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money. The most important and the number one way to ensure that you are building your brand is to deliver on your promise. If you look at M-Pesa, for example, from 2006, 5% banked Kenyans, to 2010, 70% banked Kenyans. It was really the simple proposition of the brand delivering on its promise.
Right. Were there any specific sectors that sort of contributed to the top 10?
If you look at our continent, most certainly telecommunications are among the top 10, auto manufacturers are among the top 10, beverages the top 10, and apparel among the top 10. And telecommunications, yes. Indeed. When you go to telecommunications and electronics and all those sectors which are of high investment intensity, where the Apples of the world come in. You look at Apple as the number one valuable brand at $150 billion. That's where the money is coming from. And I think being in East Africa is excellent because here in East Africa you understand telecommunications better than anyone.
Okay, great. Our time is up. You're South African. What was South Africa's number one brand?
South Africa's number one brand is MTN.
MTN. Okay, we'll leave it there. We're speaking to Thebe Ikalafeng from Brand Africa, talking to us about Africa's biggest brands and a bit of secrets of how you can indeed build your brand. Right, let's move.